All right, guys, grab your pen and paper for this one. You have to grab your pen and paper. If you're watching this for the first time, click on that subscribe button, click on that notifications bell. But remember, what I'm saying is grab that pen and paper, because I think you're going to enjoy the conversation that we are going to be having today. Welcome to the Winner Circle on the It's More Than Just Money Movement channel. And today I'm sitting with a ball of energy. That's what I'm going to call him, a ball of energy. And his name is James Perris. He's the co-founder of Preferential, but he's the founder and CEO of Tribe Partners. They're an investment company. And we're just going to have a conversation with him so that you and I can learn something from this. If what I always say is that we bring out people that are doing amazing work in South Africa and abroad. And Brother James, I'm particularly happy to have you here because I know you're a believer. You are full of faith, and I'm sure that we are going to be inspired by the conversation that you and I are going to be having. Welcome to the Winner Circle.
Thanks so much. I really, I'm so grateful to be here. Honestly, it's the first time I'll say that I'm doing something like this on a platform like this. So it's great to be with all the viewers. I'm glad my first time was with you.
I'm also glad that your first time is actually
yeah.
So I always say to people that when I hear about somebody's story, right, I pay attention and I look at the fact that I know people see all the glory about everything that other people are doing. Like for you, the work that you are doing, I see the glory, but I always ask myself, what is the story behind the glory? Because we're more focused on, oh wow, I wish I could have that. I wish I could do that. But what's the story leading up to where you are now? Where does it begin? Where does it start? And what pushed you to actually do the work that you're doing?
Yeah, it's good. It's a great approach because, like you say, Chief Witness, we've been through so much as a family, through so much with all my partners to get to this point. And if you look at it, I'll paint a picture for you. There's a South African businessman that's out there that's doing what he needs to do. Excuse me. Yeah, doing what he needs to do to feed his family, to get into the right circles, to get into just to make money. And there's two ways to do it, and I've seen it. There's guys who are going out there and saying, okay, I want to change the world, and there's guys who are just feeding their families. And I don't see any difference in those two guys because South Africa is a very unique place. I mean, we spoke about it now. I love South Africa. We think
between the guy who's saying, I want to feed my family, and the guy who's saying,
I want to change the world.
Yeah. I see the difference between the two.
I don't.
Okay.
Because I'll give you our story. So our story, I never planned to end up where I was, even leading up to where we are now with Tribe. So what Tribe is it's a digital marketplace financial service activator. So what does that mean? I didn't even know what it means. I didn't even know what our business did. And one of my partners challenged me and said, James, you're all over the place. And I'll give you some background. I'm ADHD past marmalade. Like I'm the most ADHD person you'll ever meet. So this is me on my medication.
Yeah.
I only got diagnosed with this in 2018. So I spent most of my working life and built a very successful brokerage and sold that brokerage and then realized I was ADHD after that. Then how
probably got into trouble a lot in school, right?
My teachers loved me, bud. When you look like I do and you sound like I do, they like me. So I always managed to pull the right strings. I always delivered on what was important. And when you got people around you that also deliver, it's amazing what you can get away with. It's amazing what you can say. It's amazing what...
That's an interesting take.
Well, it is. Think about it. People are looking for what in South Africa? We're looking for producers, people who get the job done. Okay. And we've got so much we need to move through. We've got BE. And I mean, if you look at, I'm a middle-aged white male in South Africa. A lot of guys like me are leaving. Yeah. A lot of guys are true. But there's a lot of guys like me that are South African, that have got the South African flag in their room. I got a South African flag pillow. We're so proud of each other. But I've always been And so a bit of my story is that growing up, my dad was a shopkeeper. We Greek. My dad was Paul. He was a great dad.
Greeks and business.
But amazing. But can work hard. And I learned that if you want to get anything done in life, you work hard. Make sure that you work hard. And I teach my children know, like they don't get away with anything. Work hard. Make sure that you're contributing. Because if you, like Paul said, the Apostle Paul said, I'm a believer in
Paul, the Apostle Paul. So my dad doesn't work. I thought you're speaking about your dad.
Yeah. The Apostle Paul said that if you're not gonna work, you're not gonna eat.
Yeah.
And I wasn't raised in a Christian family, but we were given really good, firm work ethic. This is right. This is wrong. So, and my dad worked in Fochville. He had shops in Elandsfontein, Doornfontein, on the corner of Ristic and Loveday. That's where his shops were. So we would go to school, walk across the bridge. Then that was our town, you know. And
Joburg CBD.
Joburg CBD.
You lived in Joburg CBD.
So we lived in Yeovil. So we moved around a bit. I had like a properly traumatic childhood. Like my mom was murdered. Murdered in.
Sorry about.
No, it's fine. I mean, this is who made me when I am. So in when I was 13, okay, and my dad was murdered when I was 15 in Yeovil. So there's a massive story.
Was it a hit?
That. Yeah, on both of them.
On both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but because
of business.
Yeah, and because of business, and we because what he did is he understood the volume trade. He understood what it was like to open up a shop in Doornfontein, and we would work there in our school holidays. We'd be there on a Friday at month end, and the queues would go to the back of the shop, just there by the Doornfontein station. And my dad would call in Clover. They'd bring a truck of yogurt there. He'd sell the whole thing out of the truck there on the side of the street. And then they'd bring another one. He'd sell the whole thing. And I remember when I was about 12, somewhere around there, it was like 1991. And we were in bed. We were in Yeovil, and we bought a house there. So we first rented. We bought a house up the road. It was that singer Pierre de Chamois. It was his house. You know, so it was
Pierre de Chamois.
Yeah, he was a proper singer. And I don't know if your viewers would know him. I didn't even know who he was. Anyway, so we bought his house.
Oh, it's the guy.
Yeah. And then,
is it a singer?
Yeah, he's a singer, South African singer.
Okay.
And my parents knocked on our door. We were sleeping. We were ready to sleep, my brother and I. It was a Friday at month end. And they said to us, their hands were black from cashing up. And they said, do you want to see R1 million? This isn't 1991. Do you want to see R1 million? And we came there. We only had the 50 rand note. You know, the highest denomination was the 50 rand note. And we saw this our dining room table, and it was covered in money. It was red. The whole thing was red from one day's cash up.
Yeah. From all the businesses that they...
No, from the one shop.
From the one shop?
Yeah, from the one shop. And that so we were not allowed to be racist, because my dad said, how can we be racist to people who feed us?
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
growing up, we didn't understand that what we're saying is racist, because it was just what everybody said. Although in our hearts we weren't racist.
Right.
So there was no difference for us between, and this was in a secular, growing up in a secular house where there's no Jesus. There was acceptance, and there's no difference. Anyway, so my dad was, you know, he was Greek, and there was a lot of things now that I look back on my childhood and say, geez, that's not a normal childhood, you know. We didn't have it was Porsches and overseas holidays. I'd go, gambling was not legal in South Africa. I'd go walk across the road after school, because we went to school in Braamfontein.
Yeah.
To corner of Ristic and Loveday. My dad had a shop there called Goldfield Supermarket.
Goldfield Supermarket, yeah.
And downstairs was a full-on casino. You hit the goods lift, and you go downstairs, and there's all these one-armed bandits. And even the policemen were there. They'd leave, they'd have a Coke and a pie, and they'd leave. And that's the circles my dad was in. And there was a lot of business he's doing. He was a very successful shopkeeper.
Ferraris and Porsches.
Yeah, just Porsches and overseas holidays and Porsches. And anyway, so then my dad was...
So you know what we would call you if you were in the township?
What's that?
A cheese boy.
A cheese boy?
Yeah. So what that means, back in the day in the township, right? Not every household could afford cheese.
Oh, really?
So if you looked good, had nice clothes, your parents had nice cars, would call you a cheese boy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Anyway, continue.
So I thought this was normal. And then I realized I didn't have a normal child. You know, and I married a...
Normal in what sense?
So I just thought, so what is normal? It's what you get exposed to, right? So that's what I'm saying. So as a country, what we're getting exposed to, I was sitting with someone the other day, and they said South Africa is macro negative, micro positive. So when we sit around a table like this, everybody's proudly South African. We're proud of the Springboks. We're proud of each other when we fail because we get up and we don't know how to lie down. The South Africans don't know how to stay down. And we understand that, we recognize that in each other. It's so different to what we've got anywhere else. We don't wait till money's in the bank before we start something. We switch on the light, we get going, and then the funding must come later. That's how we make business work. That's how we run our lives. And so what we've got is we've got a very positive interaction between people. But then when you look at South Africa, you hear what South Africa's doing on the news. You hear what South Africa's doing. You hear people that we have, family that live in all parts of the world. You hear the negativity come through. So South Africa has got this negative perception over it, but it actually works in its own way because of the people.
How did that impact your business life? I mean, looking at what your parents used to do in the early 90s and you were a kid and you're watching these two people work very hard. Yes, you enjoyed the perks of going overseas, riding in nice cars, going to good schools, but you also saw how hard they worked to build up what they built up.
Yes.
And in dingy areas, basically, businesses that they started. How did that impact your mindset when you later grew up and got into business yourself? And how come it didn't give you a negative perception of business to say, my parents were killed because of business? Chances are maybe I might get killed. I might as well not do it.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's this is why you run this, right? Because you asked the right question. So I've always loved business. We weren't allowed to be victims growing up. So even when you're coming as a privileged white South African in the 90s, when you're coming and you're going in and out of town in a Porsche, you got other people. And I would sit and work at the parcel counter in my dad's shops. That was me. I would say my dad he's such a perfectionist that if the crew bag beans weren't all facing in a row and they weren't all the way to the back of the shelf, he wouldn't have this thing where you got like 5 cans and then you can see the back of the shelf. He would pack it all the way to the back of the shelf. And we'd constantly be filling those shelves again. And we would sit and we'd treat everybody with dignity. Everybody was a customer. And I would sit and I would talk to people who would otherwise clean houses, be the shopkeepers, be the people who now are the car guards or whatever it is. And we had to treat everybody with dignity. And that's what impacted me, is that there's no difference, because I don't feel sorry for people who are poor. I don't. Why? I feel sorry for people who are not going to get up and do stuff when they're poor. I feel sorry for you because of your mindset, not because of your circumstances. Because if you've got the right mindset, your circumstances are temporary. And I see it now when I take it through in business. If you want to
say that again.
Okay, so what is a victim? A victim is somebody who's born into circumstances that they believe they can't change. And so even wealthy people are victims. That's why you got the wealthiest South Africans that we've seen. Who? Marcus Justus. You've seen the Brett Kibbles. You've seen those guys. You've seen the Roger Kibbles. What happens to these folks? They're all killing themselves. So are they the captains of industry that they've now won this race that we're saying that if you've got the right car, you live in the right place, and you are the CEO of a listed company, that you're the winner? Well, I can tell you now, they bailed out for whatever reason. I'm not judging them. I'm saying as a South African looking up to people like that, we all want to be the CEO of a listed company and live in Bishop's Court and live in Houghton and live in these and drive these nice cars and have the freedom to have private aeroplanes and go overseas. But is there freedom there? There's not. We must change the definition of our freedom. Okay, so now we're saying wealthy people can also be victims because they feel trapped in their circumstances, because they have to act a certain way. They have to carry on doing stuff. They're trapped in their own lives too. Okay. And then
what is the trap there? Is it materialism, or
maybe that they've got nothing of substance outside of what they own? Because we've also had a lot and lost a lot. When my dad died, we went from, like I said, Porsches, overseas holidays, as much money as we wanted. We didn't understand what lack was. Okay. To my brother and I living together in the same bedroom at my grandmother's house in Florida, not being able to afford school fees, not being able to afford we went from kings of the world to nothing. So we've had lots, we've had little, we've had lots through lots of times in our life, and even going to business. I've had businesses when I started out, we lost everything. And it's nice to have money. It doesn't define you. So now when you've got money and you don't have an anchor, a rock like Christ, then you are what you own. But the Bible's very clear about having lots of stuff. It says the rich man lies awake and is consumed by what he owns.
So how does one then create the balance?
Okay. So let me give you my story.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very unbalanced person. Like my wife says to me, we've got this saying in my house, 50 James.
50 James.
50 James. Because I'm either 100 or I'm 0.
Or 0. Yeah.
I'm either 0 or I'm redlining. And she says 50. Where's the balance? Okay. So when I was, before I came to the Lord and I left school, always had a lot of energy, a lot of charisma. I was able to get things done. I didn't care about obstacles. I'd go right through it. Okay. And I would do what I wanted to do. But when you don't have an anchor, and I lost my dad when I was young, so now I'm rebellious. I didn't appreciate any authority, nothing. I didn't want any authority over me. So I refused to get my license. I refused my driver's license.
So I just do a lot of lessons.
Ridiculous. Why do they need a license? Eventually they'll get over this thing that you need a license. That was my attitude towards authority. And then they'd stop me at a roadblock and I'd say those days, okay, and it's still $500, and I'd say, how much is the fine? $500. Okay, just give me the fine. I'll go to the police station and then I'll have it. No, give me the fine. As I drove away from the roadblock, I'd tear the ticket up and throw it out the window. They get over this thing called a license. And that's who I was. I hated authority. And so what I did was seemed right in my own eyes. And I was given over to a debased mind. So I thought to myself, the only thing is people can take notice of, because I saw it in my dad. When my dad had lots of money, people listened to him.
Right.
So I go and make lots of money. So now I try to go and make lots of money. And my first business failed, but beyond miserably.
How old were you at the time?
I started when I was 21.
21, okay.
And it closed when I was 23.
Uh-huh.
And but we had a beautiful office up on a hill with staff, and I was driving this beautiful BMW. But I was drinking more than I should have. I'm drinking two liters of beer every night just to forget my troubles, and I'm using the money out of the company, and I'm trying to.
So you were making money, but you were still troubled.
Yeah, but the way we were making money was, no matter how much money we made, we would have lost more. It's just the way it was. We just squandered. We weren't taught how to run a business. We weren't taught basic financial skills. You weren't taught that you can't over leverage your business with debt. You weren't taught these things. We weren't taught how do you hire somebody when you need resources. How do you choose the right people? I chose pretty girls. That's what I chose.
You chose pretty girls?
I just wanted pretty people around me. That's so okay.
Oh, for the your staff members.
Really? Yeah, just be pretty.
If you're pretty,
yeah,
for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but that's contrary to what your father did.
Yeah,
he built such successful businesses in the early 90s, but I'm sure not everybody.
But he had to fail first
to understand the
okay, because and I hope I get it right. As somebody once said, hard times make good men. Good men make good times.
Yeah.
Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times.
Hard times, yeah.
So it's a perpetual cycle. So I was that guy. Then we had character, but we just didn't have the ability to take that character forward. My dad was a man of character, and he did things the way the world did it. Okay, and I love my dad, but I would not run my business now the way my dad ran his business, because there were also shortcuts there. Of course. Okay. If you go out in business and you want to make money, there's much easier ways to make money than to be legit. But it takes a lot of money and a lot of energy to keep illegitimate money. And eventually it's a spiral that will catch you. But it's easier to get it, but you can't keep it. But when you go out to make legitimate money, you will fail more often than you succeed. Okay. And it's those lessons of failure, okay, that aren't actually failure. As we all know, you fail forward. That's what you do. You fail forward. Okay. So now you get up, you start again. You're not starting again. You're carrying on, but you're carrying on with more experience. Okay. So my story was, then I started this business. It was an IT business. And it failed miserably, and it closed. And I remember taking all our staff member with my brother, because I opened it with my brother. And we took all our staff.
Are you the older brother?
No, I'm the younger brother.
You're the younger brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we took them for breakfast. Said, okay, we're closing. And that was it. And we didn't even know how to close a company properly. We just left it. And then in that, I got to the end of myself, because I'd lost everything. I'd lost down my reputation. I'd lost everything. And I needed to find an anchor. And that anchor was Christ for me. And in fact, that anchor is Christ everyone, whether you realize it or not. And so that's where I came to say, okay, I need a father. And I didn't realize that when I came to him, but what he showed me was, Witness, we put boundaries around things we love. Things we value, we put walls around things we value. We protect things that we value. And so when I lost my dad, and when I didn't want any authority, I didn't want any boundaries, I didn't want anything, nothing. And so the message I got is, you're not valuable. Not that people didn't try and put it there, not that my family didn't try and put it there. I just didn't want it. So I wanted no authority over me, so I had no boundaries. And when the message I got subconsciously is that I'm not worth anything because I've got no boundaries. There's nothing worth protecting. So what happens to a
city broken down without walls?
Exactly. Yes. Now what happens to that city? Okay. It gets infiltrated. Okay. It starts becoming derelict. And that was me. So now you don't value yourself. How do you value possessions? How do you value women? How do you value money? How do you value success? You can't value it because you don't value yourself. I watch South African youth. In fact, I watch my elders in South Africa, people who are doing things that we know is wrong, that they know is wrong. The reason why they treat people like that and go and steal and do what they want and go and break the law and go and say things that are hurtful and hateful and mean and selfish and all these things is because ultimately they don't have self-value. They don't have any self-worth.
So they can't give what they don't have, which way where you were at the time.
So praise God, I learned it when I was a young man. Okay. And then so the message I got from God was what? Was you are valuable. And because you're valuable, I'm going to discipline you.
Sure.
And that's what I got.
How were you disciplined?
Oh, multiple ways. He's got a million ways. In fact, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
Yeah.
His ways, not our ways. Don't ask God how he's going to discipline you. It's infinite. But it's
just too many.
But we don't run away from that, right? We realize that his thoughts are good towards us. So what can we do is we carry on trusting him, even when things look terrible. I've gone through one of the worst seasons of my whole life over the last 3 years. Worse than ever. Okay. So when you're charismatic and when you've got the ability to speak and when you've got the ability to communicate well and when you've got the ability to make money, all right, naturally people are drawn towards you.
Yeah.
Okay. But they don't.
And you said you're good looking. So when you're good looking as well.
When you are good looking and you have a sunny disposition, the world is your oyster. No, I'm kidding. God has humbled me. Let me tell you. And, yeah, so we took what success looks like and learned that that's not success. So what is success? Okay. So we started, we failed. And then I was taken advantage from a lot of my bosses and I just worked hard all the time. And I remember I was telling my daughter this morning on the way to school, because she had this reading challenge at school. Okay. And she feels like other kids get the awards, and she feels like other kids get the high fives and the little like I see you kind of awards at school, because they don't try hard. They need to get more attention. So somebody who's trying really hard doesn't get it, and somebody who's not trying hard gets it. And she just felt injustice. Human beings know.
I see how she's feeling.
Yeah.
And you know why? What we've done is we reward the guy who comes last. But what that does is the guy who comes last knows he doesn't deserve it.
Yes.
And the guy who's first knows for a fact that the guy who comes last doesn't deserve it. So he doesn't feel that he's actually in the right path because nobody's going to recognize his hard work. But yeah, you can continue that.
So it's like playing to the lowest common denominator. And what do you do when you play to the lowest common denominator? You don't challenge the guys at the bottom. Not that he's worthless, but you continue to keep him at a low value if you don't challenge him.
Yeah, because
sometimes people need to fail. Healthy. Sometimes people need to be disciplined. It's healthy. Good for the human soul. Bad times are good for the human soul. Okay. Anyway, but what do you do when you do that? You demotivate the producers. You demotivate the guy at the top. And that's why we got a lot of people leaving South Africa. And I said to my wife, we had to make a choice.
You almost left?
No, we had to make a choice.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And this is, and I'll speak to South Africans. I'm saying we've got a beautiful country, but it's beautiful because of us. Take all the black people out of South Africa. I promise you all the white people will be unhappy. Like you said. Take all the white people out of South Africa, all the black people are going to be unhappy. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to separate people again. What about all the people who love each other? What about all the...
Brother, what about you and me?
What about... Exactly. What about the little mixed children now? Because you hate mom, but dad's now... What? Like, what about the families now that have intermarried? Because we're saying we Rainbow Nation. Now we're trying to divide. What are you going to divide? Divide families. You think that a black husband is going to allow his white wife to be treated like that? Not a chance. It's his own flesh. He'll die for her. Okay, so now we are diverse. Like it or not, we are Rainbow Nation, but it's like a paint can that's now been shaken. You take the rainbow, now you shake it. That's all close there. Who's going to separate that? Unless you are the enemy. Careful of the voices that are trying to separate. They are the enemy.
True.
Because division is the enemy. God commands a blessing when there's unity.
Yeah.
And I believe in South Africa. Anyway, that's why we've chosen to stay. So in 2016 and 2017, I said to my wife,
you're going to be born in Europe, man. You're going to miss this accent.
So imagine we look at people leaving and we think, what are they leaving to? Okay, and I said to my wife in 2016, I said to her, make a choice. I'm a British citizen. I've got a British passport. Okay, I've got a fairly decent asset base. Okay, I'm educated, not with a university degree, but I'm educated. I'm experienced in business.
And I'm anywhere in the world.
We can do anything, especially with this attitude, with this South African mindset where we just don't say die, and we do more than 5 people will do in another country. We'll do it all. Don't worry, we'll do it all. Okay, imagine how successful South Africans could be everywhere else. Okay, but imagine if we stayed. And I said to my wife, what are we going to do? We're going to leave, okay, and then mourn South Africa, but then we can just decide we're not South African anymore, all right? Or we're going to stay and we're going to mourn not going. Because every time we hear of our friends and people leaving, should we do it? So I said, we make a decision. We stay and we become part of the solution.
Absolutely.
And that's what we said we're going to do. And that's why my blood is South African. Okay. I don't care about any other passport. I want my passport to the kingdom of heaven. Okay. The blood of Christ did that for me. You know the gospel.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the gospel. The gospel is, I didn't deserve heaven. I deserved hell. I couldn't pay the price because I'm a sinner. Jesus died for my sins and paid the price. Okay, that's the gospel. That's what I live by. It's not something I say. It's something who I am because I had a personal experience with the man, the God, Jesus Christ. I realized the depravity of my life and I realized where I was going. And that's what he rescued me from. Right, so I don't care about which country I'm in, actually. In fact, I laugh when people say they're
a kingdom citizen. When are you worried about?
That's the only passport I want is a kingdom passport. Now, witness, imagine I'm somewhere else, okay, trying to make a better life in a place where there's flesh as well. Because the problem is you and me, actually. The problem is human beings, not South African human beings or New Zealand or American it's human beings. Wherever you are, you're going to have corruption. Wherever you are, you're going to have greed, self, whatever it is. So how do we become part of the solution? So that's where we are. So I'm saying to South Africans, choose where you are. Make a living, a beautiful living in the country, and make a decision that when you fail on the way to your dream.
But how do you rebuild after failing? Like when you had your first failure in your business, what were the steps you took moving forward from there?
Okay. So I'll give you my recent failure. Okay. And we lost everything. Lost everything. And what was happening is, so our business is, I'm really good at financial services, like building. I build insurance products. So we look at building financial.
With an insurance company.
Insurance brokerage. So, but there's a lot that we do.
I told you that black people don't like echo.
I almost burst out laughing when I didn't want to say anything because I know we're recording, but I didn't want to say why you're putting on your jacket. So it says white people like aircons. So I love it.
When you go to any office in South Africa, you find all the white people switching on the aircon and all the black people with a jacket on, like myself right now. So now we're both comfortable. You can continue.
I love it. Thank you. So so we started a tech company, okay, when I built financial services, I fell into it, and I've had some really great insurance mentors. Like, I'm really good at what I do because of the people who actually taught me. And they're such good, experienced, talented people in South Africa. And so when we reject authority, we actually rob ourselves. So when I decided to come under authority, I was mentored. And you know what mentorship is? It is the most difficult thing you'll do because you have to give up your own rights. You have to give up your own opinion and you have to listen to other people and submit to them. And that takes hard work. Okay. And they're not always right. So submitting to them when they're wrong That's when you think they're wrong. That's called submission. Otherwise, it's just obedience. It's just agreement. Okay. So now find somebody who's better than or wants to do what you want to do. And I found some really good people in insurance.
Yeah.
When I went into ministry, I went into full-time ministry for a year after I got saved, after I got born again. Then I went and I decided I'm not the guy who's going to be a pastor. Okay. I enjoy business and I wanted to so I fell into insurance as we did in those days. And I got really good at it. And then I was given multiple opportunities.
Was the first business also an insurance business?
So the first business was an IT company, and that was it was an IT company. And then I got saved, and I moved into ministry, and then I moved out of ministry, and I went full time into insurance. And that is my ministry. Financial services is my ministry. I'd been given the opportunity to take over a small underwriting department at a very large brokerage in South Africa. They held all the binders with insurers, so that you got a lot of authority to do it. And I was unqualified, but I was the best person for the job because of my attitude. And I had about 5 ladies who was working for me, and it was very difficult managing. I could barely manage myself, let alone, and I'd just been married, and I can't even look after one wife. I'm going to look after like all these ladies who looking to me for direction. And anyway, so it was a very difficult time in my life, and I remember sitting in the bathroom crying at work. And
you?
Yes. And because I was so overwhelmed. And I had to make this work. And I just went out to the Lord, and he said to James, stand up. Go and do what I told you to do, because I'll empower you to do it. And he says,
You heard an audible voice?
No, in my heart.
In your heart, okay.
But I wrote it down. And he said, I put your feet on top of insurance worldwide. You'll be amazed at what I'm able to do through you if you don't care who gets the glory. Now you're challenging me. That's how I knew it was the Lord's voice, because he's saying, only when you put yourself down, when you give up your own rights, when you die to self, can I then work through you. Because there's a reason he saves us into something. And that was when I got my calling on that toilet, crying in the middle of a day in some corporate bathroom somewhere. And he said to me, go and just handle this manfully. That's what he said. Go and handle it manfully. You're not a victim. You're being obedient. You're following the call. I'll power it. Handle it manfully. Okay, so don't cry when things don't go wrong, and also don't take all the credit for it when it goes right. Because the person who takes credit for it or looks up to watch them in corporate South Africa, watch them everywhere actually. Look at people who respect authority so much, who like worship authority, and the guy in the big position and the guy with the big car. That same guy who's so in awe of authority and success or whatever, he's the exact same guy that'll treat the car guard like he's nothing. He's also the same guy that'll take all the pride and all the honor for the success, but then he will also beat himself up for the failure. And I promise you, the awe of success isn't to the same degree as the despair of failure. Not many people can handle success.
Awe of success isn't to the same degree as the despair of failure.
Yes. Okay, so it's easy to succeed and stay there. Okay, to stay there up there and in your heart, and then be arrogant and prideful. For the flesh, it comes naturally. But when you're in failure, it's difficult to get up and out of it. More people die in failure than what they die in success. They also die in success, by the way. It's very difficult to walk with a full cup. Okay.
It's difficult to walk with a full cup.
It's very difficult. Yeah. When you've got no need, no lack, no nothing, are you close to God? Or are you a bit arrogant? Are you a bit irritated when distractions come, somebody needs help? You're irritated. When you're successful, you don't have time for these people. But when you're at the bottom, your heart is much, you see things completely different. It's a beautiful place to be. It's that beautiful brokenness. And that's how God wants us to see ourselves, because that's what we are. That is our position. We can do nothing on our own. Right. So when you are a failure, no matter where you are. Okay. But that's why he empowers you. Okay. So then what I even in doing well in insurance, because I wrote insurance programs, we did some world firsts in South African insurance. And this is what I love about South Africa. We've done so many things that the world can't even compare to. In every industry. We had a guy with no legs competing in the Olympics against able-bodied people. But the story didn't end well. Doesn't take away from the fact that he worked damn hard to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what we are as South African. I'm so proud of them. So proud of the Springboks. I'm so proud of when we go.
You're proud of Bafana.
You know why I'm proud of them? You know why I'm proud of them?
Yeah.
Because they keep getting up.
They won't give up.
So all we got to do, you'll find when we humble ourselves,
Yeah.
then the nation gets behind you. South Africans hate arrogance. We've got arrogant politicians who are going to get the biggest hiding from the South African population because South Africans hate arrogance. Watch what happens when the Springboks become prideful. We're disappointed. We want them to be humble and winners because that's who we are. Watch when the soccer players are failures and prideful. We're like, guys,
What's going on here?
we want to get behind you when you lose and when you win, but we want humble people. That's what we want to follow leaders that are selfless and whatever.
That sounds like it's a lesson that was given to you in the beginning. Like when you found yourself crying in the bathroom, you found yourself in a space where you now had to be humble and then, but also be equally hardworking.
Mhm.
How did that then help you moving forward in business? You're now doing this amazing work. You're building up insurance wonders, basically. You're coming up with products that are revolutionizing the insurance industry, not only in South Africa, but globally. How then did you move from the glory to glory in the work that you were doing
So,
while keeping the humility?
so I didn't learn that lesson until we were successful. So,
Until you were successful.
so we our talent carries us.
Hey, you don't learn, man.
We don't learn it. And not just me, every human being. And that's the human condition, right? We must put things in perspective. So I started becoming very good at what I did. Then I started a financial services division within a very large IT company. Okay, owned by names every South African knows. Okay, and we were very successful in that. And I lost all my shareholding, and I lost my director position, and I lost that because
How did you lose that?
because they just the way corporate politics happens and what it was. I was inexperienced. I didn't make sure I got things in writing.
We've got another please call me scenario here.
Yeah, exactly. No. But look, the business. So I started the business and I ran it for 5 years on their board for 3 of them, and then I realized that even if I did get shareholding in this, it'd be a minority. And I said, and I even said to my boss at the time, I said, you know what? Doesn't matter how you treat me. I don't work for you. I work for Jesus. So no matter how you treat me, you're going to get the best out of me. But don't think I'm going to stick around for another 5 years. I have to go and use my talents where they're going to bear fruit. That's what I said to him. And then eventually I left there and I got some wonderful partners. I started my own business for the first time. And I gave up 77.5% of my business for the smallest amount of money. The smallest. And these people were strong businessmen. And I reckoned, I'm going to go and take over the world because I'm good at insurance and I got the right partners. I got my right business. I'm going to infiltrate their networks and we're going to take over the world. And we started we perfected a really new part of insurance called volume and affinity, where we do embedded products. And I went head to head with insurance companies and we wrote programs for some of the world's largest companies. And we were very successful at that. And then I realized that I lost the wrong partners, because my partners, who I thought would hold me on their shoulders and push me forward, were actually put there by God, as I saw in retrospect. These people are multi-millionaires. Okay. And they treated me in my little business the same way they treated their other businesses. They wanted production. And I realized I was the employee. And I needed that power over me, and I needed that pressure to develop my character. So over the 7 years of working for them, actually, that's what it was. And they were much richer than I was. And we weren't even paying our bills at home. And the Lord said, and I resented them. Every time out of every 100 Rand of dividends, I was paying 77.5 away. 77 Rand 50 away, I was paying away out of all the dividends. And I wasn't even paying my bills. And they were millionaires. And the Lord said to me, you bless them. You're there to make them wealthy. I'm like, I can't even pay bills. And he said, you're there to bless them. Work hard. You asked for this. You brought them in the business. And over 7 years, okay,
sounds like the story of Jacob, but it's fine.
Joseph. And that's what it felt. Jacob, Joseph.
No, Jacob, 7 years he worked for a wife. I don't know what you were working for. But
yeah, exactly.
And then the second 7 years he was working for his life.
Right. Sorry, I was looking at the prison part of it. That's why I thought it was Joseph. So now,
father and son.
Love it. So father and son. So anyway, what I'd done is I realized that success isn't what I think it is. Okay.
Mm.
And through all of that, I spent the next 7 years losing all my hair. Okay.
Oh.
Picking up weight, becoming a nightmare at home. So I was this wonderful person in the marketplace, and I was my wife's nightmare, my children's nightmare.
Were you bitter?
I was just arrogant and prideful and not on my knees and edgy, and anything that went wrong. If we had a great day at work, I was great. If we had a bad day at work, I was bad. And my kids didn't know what they were going to get. So you had this public success and this private failure happening. Anyway, so then I realized, okay, we had an opportunity to sell the business, and we sold the business, okay? And we did well out of it. Okay. And then I decided...
Did you sell it to your partners?
No, I sold it to another business.
So you all agreed to...
All agreed. It was the only way we could do it. Okay. And we sold them. And I realized that mentorship actually made me strong in business. And it was with that. Now you think to yourself, okay, sure, maybe he's going to learn the lesson here. So with that, now I had money, more money than I had before. Okay. And I had experience because I've been mentored by some of the best businessmen in South Africa. Like legit, some of the best businessmen of South Africa. Okay. And now I was just, I knew how to use the gifts I'd been given. And so I went into the marketplace spiritually dry, but emotionally and physically fit. I was like, okay, I can do this now. I am the businessman. I need to go do this. And so long story short, what we did was I realized in insurance that we need technology to deliver all insurance products that I can build to include all South Africa. And that's what I started building. And I said, let's go and get some technology. Let's build the technology. And that's a story on its own and how much time we got. But I'll give you some of the
I've got time
highlights.
for you.
I love it. Yeah. So I got some of the highlights. So I said, okay, I'm good at building insurance products, but I'm a broker. So what I want to do is I want to participate in the underwriting profits because I'm building products that make the insurers rich. Okay. And I can't earn those profits as a broker. So let me sell the brokerage. Let me go and build the technology. You know, we'd speak of insurtech. So you see the insurtech guys all over the world, right? And you see the big guys in South Africa. And I thought, okay, I want to be in the Business Day, and I want to be in Venture Burn, and I want to be in all these guys, and I want to be the guy closing VC funding and say we raised this much money and whatever, and be the guy on the front page because I could build insurance. And that's what I started setting out to do. And then we sat with we sat with the guy. We got some partners around the table, new partners, and I gave them, and that was also a big lesson for me. Don't give away your company too quickly. Keep your company. You don't need partners. Learn to back yourself.
But didn't partners then help you to become the person you are?
Yeah, they did. No, they did. 100%. Look, when you need accountability, you don't necessarily need partners. You need mentors. Okay. The reason why I went and included them is because although I believed in what I could do, I didn't back myself. If I were to be genuinely honest, I was very insecure. And I thought, what if I fail? So I need partners who will bring money into the business just to help me start. And I didn't honestly want to back myself. And two of those partners that I had are still my mentors now. And they say, you need to learn to back yourself.
Why didn't a guy who has so much confidence, charisma, liked by people, easily connects with people, why did that guy not have confidence?
Hey. I don't know. Maybe we just don't back ourselves as South Africans. Maybe we should. Because there's no difference between the talent and the skill that I had in 2012 and what I've got now when we started again. There's no difference.
Is the difference the confidence?
The difference is I actually realized that my success got very little to do with me. My success has got everything to do with what I do on a daily basis. Routine, discipline, good business, good solutions. If you do something you're good at and you solve people's problems and you do it consistently, you'll make money. Because people pay you for it.
Something you love that you're good at that solves people's problems.
They'll pay you for it. And you'll make
So you must love it, you must be good at it, and it must solve somebody's problem.
Yes, they'll be willing to pay you for it. Because how many times are you doing stuff for free? People love it, but they're not prepared to pay you for it. That's not a successful business.
Or you love it, but nobody cares about it.
Or they care about it, but they're not prepared to pay you for it.
Right, so it's worthless.
Yes. Learn to market, to monetize what you're good at. So that's what I learned. I'm very good at financial services because I'm passionate about it. And
how does one recognize if something can be monetized or not?
For me, it was, I got I got 0% for high grade maths in matric in a cycle test.
0.
Like legit 0. I said question 1, underlined it, sat for 5 minutes. The teacher was walking up, and it's the cycle test in matric, high grade, walking up and down, and I would like kind of cover my paper because I didn't want to see it. And then like she'd walk away, and I put some stuff there so it looks like I'm doing something. I had no clue. I don't have a maths bone in my body. Okay, and
How we do higher grade?
because I wanted to get into medical school
Oh, okay.
because they said I couldn't, so I wanted to get now.
James.
Yeah, and I got a bursary to get in.
Wow.
Yeah, because of a wonderful man who backed me and put me in there, and I went into Wits, and then I hated it.
You hated medicine.
I hated the whole idea of I can only earn what the hours I am there for. Even then in university, I'm like, this is the wrong thing. I cannot. I'm ADHD. I didn't even know I was, and I'm thinking to myself, being in a room for my whole life and only earning from what I can produce in that hour. Like that seemed like hell for me. And then I dropped out. I was crying again in my car, crying. Okay, so very emotional. Not so much anymore, but I used to be. Anyway, so then he gave me he paid for my courses in another place to go and learn about business and computing and whatever. He backed me 100%. He was a very wealthy man. He just saw something probably in me that didn't.
What is it about you that wealthy people like? It's because your dad was wealthy, so the anointing.
Nothing to do with an anointing. I think what it is people see when you fear man, and it's detestable to them.
People see when you
Fear man. And it's
fear man.
when you fear man,
Yeah.
when you care so much about what they think, and when you won't speak to them because of the position they're in, and when you say what they want to hear because that's what everybody says to them.
You want to gain
They hate
something.
it. They hate it. They say right through it's what's the word? It's insincere.
Right.
People love sincere people. So I like I said to you before, I'm very sorry if I offend people, because I offend people all the time and I don't realize it. Like, because I'm practically inoffendable. I used to get offended very often, and then I've decided stop getting offended. Because the first thing that breaks relationship is offense. So I don't get offended anymore. And when I do get offended at that occasion, I get over myself. And you move on anyway. And then so what happened was we sold this business, coming back to the story. I sold the business, we had money now, whatever. Now I'm going to build a tech empire, and I'm going to be on all the tech like platforms and talking and being in the newspapers and whatever. And I decided I can build insurance. Let's go to let's build technology. Now I remember I was sitting in front of, I got through a connection of us. They put us in front of the head of the investment committee at a business that was buying up a big hospital group in South Africa. He was an American guy, a black guy, American. And he said, James, what do you want from me? That's what he said. And I was saying, he says, I want you to build me a lemonade. Now, if you know what lemonade is, a big insurtech in the US. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is in 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. I needed 100 million rand to build my...
You were raising 100 million.
I needed to build this platform that I wanted in insurance, because then I built the insurance product. I wanted the platform. And I said to him, Colin, I need two things. I need to be black. And I need 100 million rand.
You need to be black?
I need to be black. I'm a white South African. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I realized I need black partners.
Oh, okay.
I need to be black.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said to him, I need to be black and I need 100 million rand.
Yeah.
And he said, 100 million rand. Okay. It's less than the cost of a hospital. Okay.
Yeah, it's only what?
Like, it's only money. Okay. It's only money. The Americans, like 100 million rand is why are you only asking for 100 million rand. Right. And he said, and unfortunately, James, in this country, I'm as white as you are. And then we walked out of that, and I was like, that went well. And then my partner, who was the head of technology at the time, walked out of our business. And he says, there's no way we're going to solve South Africa's insurance problems with only 100 million rand.
Too little.
He said, we won't even do it with 500 million. We won't even do it with 1 billion. Problem is not the technology. Problem is the distribution. Problem is the distribution.
The distribution of the insurance.
Why do you buy insurance products? Because you have a need. Somebody doesn't understand your need, you're not going to buy it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now you have to, so now we went through this whole thing, and then I realized this is where Tribe started, through lots of trauma, losing my best friend as a partner because we couldn't see eye to eye. Don't go into business with your friends. Become friends with your business partners. Unless you've got very, very strong ties, and my partner and I were best friends. And we did well. We built the first business together. But now we're both the heads of the business. And what happens is when things go hard, okay, and when you treat each other like business partners, when you're friends, a friend comes and says, well, why are you talking to me like this? You're my friend. Why are you so hard to me? Don't you understand my family? You know my family. You've had dinner with my wife. Like, why are you being like this? And a friend comes in. So you're doing normal business stuff, but you're getting offended all the time because you should also be considering the friendship. Unless you're mature enough to do it. But most people I know, including myself, couldn't. And then I lost my best friend out of that business. And then we lost the head of technology. And then it was me and my partner. And we decided we're going to go and build this. And even that didn't work out because we weren't pulling in the same direction. I was called by God for insurance and he wasn't. But again, I didn't back myself. So I wanted someone to work.
Unequally yoked.
We are unequally yoked.
Yeah.
But he's better than I will ever be at what he's good at. And he'll never keep up with me.
Speak on that. Where one should be the best at what they do than what another person is doing. Like you guys, you were called for insurance. He was called for something else.
Yeah.
You look at him, you're like, this guy is great at that thing.
Yes.
I'm great at insurance.
Yeah.
But why do people not realize it soon enough, the thing?
I think it takes a lifetime to become you're the subject matter expert at that. And then when you're there, to stay there. So what do we do? If you do something because you love it, when you get money, you'll continue doing it because you've got something bigger than money and bigger than yourself to keep on doing it. Right? If you're doing it for money, even if you fooled yourself, oh, I love this and this is why I'm doing it. When the money comes, you stop doing it. You stop caring. You stop talking to the small client. You stop getting involved in the small issues or the big issues of your business. You're just riding this thing along because now you got the money. You got what you wanted. So being good at something is understanding why you're good. What is your why? Where am I? Okay, so my why now, as I understand it, is first of all, I'm called by God to do what I'm doing. Coming back to my maths story. I got 0% in matric for high grade maths, okay? But my living, the way I feed my family, depends on me being good, being able to out-negotiate actuaries at insurance companies. But I don't have a maths bone in my body, so how do I do it? For me, that's the gift that God has given me. Now, I can't take the gift that God has given me and go and be prideful about it because I'm good at what I do. So, but you don't understand maths. But I see the numbers. I see the solution. I build the solution. And if you ask me why, I said, I don't know. I don't know. And it works. And I'm good at it. And other people can't copy it. And if they do copy it, I'm already so far ahead because I understand where it's good. God shows me the big picture. You see, so I'm really good at it because I've got that gift. Anyway, so with all of that, now we decide we're going to become a tech mogul. And I got the biggest hiding in my life from 2018 to 2021. We raised 2 VC rounds. This is the numbers. I don't know how true it is. This is what I heard. 100 people are looking for VC funding. Okay. Out of 100, let's actually get in front of a venture capitalist. Okay. Only 10 will get an interview. And only 10% of those will actually get a term sheet, not funding, they'll get an offer.
Term sheet, yeah.
1 out of 100 will actually get a term sheet. Every time we've gone for funding through VCs, we've closed the round. And we've done it with some of South Africa's biggest companies. Okay, now I thought, all right, this is easy. And when I say we're raising tens of millions of rands to fund our tech companies, and we've got some of the most successful tech companies in this country. Okay. But even in that, I wasn't operating in the financial services. I was operating in those businesses. I wasn't bringing the financial services. I was just bringing...
You're not bringing what you're good at.
Yes. And so as a result of it, I was hindering the companies. And so the Lord, not my partners, not the investors, the Lord removed me from those businesses. But he didn't do it before he disciplined me because I was prideful. And praise God, I've got patient, gracious partners who actually love me. Okay. Enough to tell me the truth. And they walked this thing out. They watched me go from somebody who was quite arrogant in 2018 to losing everything last year. When I say losing everything starting from scratch. I still had the shareholding in those businesses. On balance sheet, we had lots of money. Cash flow, we were completely poor.
Asset rich, cash flow poor.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't convert those because when you're trying to convert your assets and you're desperate, then the blood's in the water.
Yeah.
Even that is worth nothing.
The wolves are coming in.
That's it. So,
coming in for the blood.
And I went to one of my mentors, one of these extremely wealthy people that I had before, and they said, you need to learn to back yourself. Go back into insurance. This is what you're doing is you are the guy sitting on the boat with you're the best welder I know. and you're welding everybody else's ships. And they're sailing lovely and yours is sinking. He says, let me mentor you. Even when I worked with them and I was on a board with them for 7 years, he didn't mentor me. It was the most embarrassing thing. In 2014, I phoned him up and I said, will you mentor me? I thought to myself, this is one of the most well-known business people. And he said, no. And I was like, man, that was embarrassing. It really was. Like, I don't get rejected by like that. And then it was only afterwards, because I was his employee, even though we were partners. I wasn't partners. I was his work, which is good. I had to learn. Anyway, and then it was in, what are we now? Yeah, 2023, in June. He said, let me mentor you. He says, you're the best welder I know. Let's build you the best tugboat, because that's what you are. And you pull people out the harbor. And that's what he said, get back into insurance. I asked him, would you like to come back into this business and partner with me again and fund the beginning of the business? And he says, I can. And you'll give away 50% of your business, and it'll be the most expensive 50% you ever gave away. Or you can learn to give up whatever you have to do to make this work.
Everything else back and focus on yourself.
Yeah, back yourself. And so from June to now, only recently, and we were going through it, we lost everything. When I say lost everything, I couldn't even feed my family. We sold our house. We were renting. I sat down with my landlord, most beautiful woman, compassionate. And I sat down and I said, Tims, this is where we are. And I showed her the sale agreements. I showed her everything. I gave her a glass of wine. This is where we are. I need a moratorium on my rent. This is somebody who didn't understand what lack was. Right. In fact, was arrogant towards people who had lack. How can you not afford $200 to give to the school? How can you not afford that? Like in our minds, that's where we were. That's what arrogance, coming from where we were, where you identify with people, to arrogance and pride and blinkers and whatever these things, to where we couldn't even feed our own family, where we were getting moratoriums on our rent from our landlord. Even my landlord backed me. He said, go for it, 100%. And I showed her everything. And then we started building the insurance business again. And as a result of that, being out of the other businesses, those two businesses are now healthy because they're focusing what they focus.
Now you got dividends in those businesses.
Almost.
Because you are not there.
Yeah. But tech companies, I don't think there are many people who have raised VC funding in South Africa that are going to be profitable at all, let alone on their way to profitability. And those businesses are healthy businesses now. All right.
Is Preferential one of them?
So yes, of course, Preferential is a beautiful business because the CEO is good. Because what I realized is I'm not a good CEO. What I'm good at is I'm a good midwife. It's looking myself in a right light. So you take a mom and a midwife. The mom carries the vision. The mom carries the baby. When the mom develops a drug addict, what happens to the mom? Where does the midwife put him? She goes to rehab. We don't care about the mom's feelings because we want to deliver a healthy baby. And God said, you are a good midwife. Help other people deliver their visions. And in that, you give them financial services because it's your financial services that monetizes the technology.
Right.
Because you're developing solutions that South Africans use. So that's what we're doing now. We're building all those things and their businesses are becoming successful and my business is becoming successful because I understand who cares who gets the glory.
Glory belongs to God.
I don't even want my name to be known. No, legit. I don't want my name to be, I don't even want a tombstone. Let me just say, Jesus' son. That's all I want.
What drives you?
What drives me?
You're very driven. What drives you?
Well done, good and faithful servant. Those are the words I want to hear. Legit, I promise you. God has humbled me in the last year. Well done, good and faithful servant.
When you hear well done and good and faithful servant, what do you think the Lord will be congratulating you for?
So I ran a men's ministry for a church that had over 5,000 people. I was the head of the men's ministry. Okay. Everything I did there, even in cell groups or com groups or whatever, when I'm caring for people, I was ticking the box. You have to do this. You have to go to church. You have to do this. And I love God. I've never backslidden. But sometimes we get into the automatics. Sometimes you're one person at church or one person at work and you're a different person at home. Okay. And then, so we tick the boxes. Even in every part of our life, do you take your wife on a date night? And when you do, are you genuinely loving her? Are you genuinely serving her? Are you genuinely doing the things out of love? Don't show people you love them, love them, and it'll show. And that's been the difference. Is I worked out my salvation with fear and trembling. I got into a good community of Bible believing, with solid, sound theology, where we say when you stand up for the name for Christ, bad things are going to happen to you. You are going to be persecuted. Jesus is not going to heal you every time. He heals, but he might not heal you. Just because you know Jesus doesn't mean you're going to be prosperous. In fact, the testimony of Scripture is the exact opposite. We live for the hereafter. We live for eternity, not now. Our reward is in heaven, not now. And that putting that into perspective has helped me understand, what are we living for? Okay, so we can say we believe in Jesus and we can serve people, go visit people in hospital, but we just tick in the boxes. Or you can genuinely care for somebody, and when they're crying, you cry next to them. One of my close friends, he lost 2 boys. Both his children died. Okay. We were at his house. So I didn't know him when he lost his first boy. He was driven over by a truck on the 1st of January in front of his eyes. Okay. And then they had another baby, I think it was 2 years later, and that child drowned in the bath and became a vegetable, basically. And so this little guy lived until he was 6 years old. And 6 or 8, or I think it was 6. And but he was like, the growth hormone came, so he was big. He was so big. He was a big boy, a little 6-year-old. And we all went to his house the night he died. And we all sat together. There was about 20 men around him and his wife, and we just cried with him. We didn't do anything. Nothing can solve that pain. And we just cried with him. That's all we did. We literally mourned for him as if it was our boy. And it was such healing there. Now somebody loses the child, you go, sorry, Jesus loves you. Here's God is close to the brokenhearted. It means nothing. Actually, sit with somebody, cry with them, don't say a thing. Bring them food. Don't tell everybody you brought them food. So doing things out of the proper motives, that's what you live for. That's actually, because you could go today, tonight, on the way home, you could die. None of the stuff you're building actually belongs to you. Why are you building? Because you're not going to take it with you. Yeah. But it takes pain, it takes failure, it takes discipline to understand who you are in the grand scheme of things. You're not that important. You're only important because he chose you. He didn't choose you because you were important. You are important because he chose you. That's the only thing that gives us value. So what are we living for? And it's a daily struggle to hold that into perspective, because we will be successful. We're more successful than we ever were before. I know that. God has given us a gift. Our businesses are successful. Things are happening. We're in a great country. Now's the best time to be in South Africa. I've never ever seen more opportunity than what we are dealing with now.
We live in the best country in the world.
Man, with more opportunity than you've ever seen, with all the tools that are at disposal. Okay? Like, legit. I genuinely believe that. The problem is now we try and grab all the opportunity we can, and we lose all of it. As opposed to being hyper-focused, what are you here? What are you doing? What are you good at? Just focus on that opportunity and say no to other stuff. It's okay to say no to money. Legitimately. Oh, I heard from God. Praise God. God blessed me. I'm moving to another company. They doubled my salary. God's in this. Is he? Or is that new company going to drive you away from your family? Do you have to now move to the UAE, to Dubai, away from your family? How's that God's will? What, because you were prosperous? Now I'm going to move away from my family. Consider your marriage. Consider your children. You've got a young son there that looks up to you. That this world wants to get into his brain. Pornography wants to get to him. Now the enemy's removed the first defense. Dad is gone. And you got a fatherless child there. Because you're making money in some other country because you want to build a legacy for your children. How much money do children actually need? Don't be that guy that builds millions and dies, and your family is relieved now that you're gone because you were such a nightmare. Rather be there. Be there for them. It's good to provide for your kids, and money, I promise you, money does make life a lot easier. I'm not saying money's bad. It's great to have money. But it's a very, very poor master.
So tell me, we are closing, right? Then that camera there, there's somebody sitting at home saying, Brother James, I hear you, but you seem to be very inspired. You know the Lord. I don't even know what the Lord is. And I'm dejected. I'm about to give up. I live in South Africa. Things are not looking so great for me. what would be your closing remarks to that young person, old person, black, white, red, black, blue, whatever it is? What would be your closing words to them?
So you've got a choice. If I tell you 2 months ago that we couldn't afford any food in our home, that it was our family and our church that were actually buying us food. Okay. Yet I've never gone through more of a peaceful time in my life. My wife has never honored and respected me more than she's ever had. My children love being around me. Okay. And it was a temporary situation because of circumstances. Okay. That was not my life. But I lived in peace, and I lived with an excitement in me that I'd never had before. There's a God in heaven that designed you for a specific purpose. The Bible speaks about He set the boundaries of your life in His hand. There's no mistake why you are in South Africa. It's not an accident. No mistake that you grew up where you grew up and that you are the exact age that you are right now. But if you were to try and work this out by yourself, you'll give up before you even get to the end of it. Because there is no meaning in life if you're separated from the Creator that created you for a specific purpose. The Bible's testimony is clear. He put every single thing in every single day of your life in His plan before one of them came to pass. And what you need to do is go to the one that created, the one that has the instruction manual, and go and find out, why does He put you on this planet? But you can't be there if you're separated from Him. And this is the offensive message of the gospel, is that you are a sinner, separated from God because of your sin. You can't come, you offend a holy God, but He has made provision. You don't have to do anything to be accepted from you, for by Him. And He's calling out to you, and He's saying, accept the sacrifice. But you can't accept a sacrifice if you don't know that you have got a disease. You'll never take a cure if you don't realize you have a disease. You went into a doctor's office and the doctor said, I've got a cure for you. So make you feel terrible, but I've got a cure for you, you're going to be okay. Person says, I don't need the cure. But if I showed you x-rays, and he said, look at all this cancer, your body is riddled with it, you are going to die. You would take any cure he gave you when you realize what that cure is going to do for you. And that's what sin does. It separates us from God. You are a sinner. You're born a sinner. But God is saying, I've got the antidote. I sent Jesus to die for that sin, to atone for that sin, so that you don't have to be separated from for eternity. But what it takes is repentance. It takes saying, I'm sorry for my sin. I'm sorry that I've offended you, holy God. I've lived in my way. I've got desires that are not your desires. I accept your sacrifice. Forgive me and turn from those ways and turn to the one that created you. And you can only reach the Father through that gate, Jesus Christ. And that's what I did. And I love my life, but I loved my life before. I know lots of people that don't know Jesus that are living successful lives according to the world standard. So what is important to you? For me, success has been written in His book and knowing Him. Because when things get hard, when I can't feed my own family, I can get up again. He says, the righteous man falls 7 times and gets up every time. But calamity overtakes the wicked and they don't get up. Why? Because God gives you a reason to live that's bigger than yourself, bigger than money, bigger than success, bigger than business, bigger than your ego. Humble yourself, turn to God, and He will deliver you through the sacrifice of His Son, Jesus. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to earn your way to heaven. He's made a way, but there is only one way. It is the most inclusive way. Anybody's welcome, but it is the most exclusive only through Jesus. Most inclusive, but most exclusive. Jesus alone, and that's it. So that's my message, and I'm a living proof of it, because actually I don't measure my success by the amount of money you have. I measure my success by my value with Him.
Jesus is King, guys.
Love it, man.
Jesus is King. Brother James,
witness,
thank you so much.
love you, bud. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate
I love you
too.
too. Thank you so much for the value that you delivered to our audience. Guys, if this did not inspire you, I actually don't know what's going to inspire you. I'm sitting here, I'm inspired, and my faith is renewed. I hope your faith is renewed too. And I wish you all the best with all your business endeavors. And I hope this has been of value to you. From my team and James, broadcasting from the media shop in South Africa, it's more than just money. We'll see you in the next episode. Remember to subscribe, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, guys.